Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of That Tom Clancy Show. I am, of course, your host, the lovable and mechanical Mr. That Tom Clancy. Thank you all for being here on this lovely Tuesday. Ashley, Liam, Tanya, Brian, so good to have you here. And my guest today, Tanya, wonderful person, is also hosting us, which is amazing. But before we get started, I just want to send a real quick heart thoughts, all that stuff out to everybody in Beirut right now. I hope that's something positive. I don't know. I don't know how to express how terrible that situation is, or how to get across my hope that everything turns out as minimally bad as possible. So I think that's pretty much the best I got there. But more importantly, my guest today is one that I have a hard time writing an introduction for. Usually it's pretty easy. You just list somebody's accomplishments, you rattle off a few games that they've worked on. But when your guest is Tanya DePass, it makes it a little harder to write that intro. So, Bits and Pixels, Tanya DePass. Hey!
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. It is so good to have you here again. Well, I mean, again. And Amon Doctor, thank you for the follow. So it's, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. It's been, I don't even remember how long, way too long since we got to hang out. Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, geez, how? Gen 2 Pokemon had just kind of come out in Pokemon Go. So now it's 2017?
Yeah, 2017 or 2018. I think it was 2017 though.
Either way, it's way too damn long.
Yeah, because I have not got a chance to actually see you since we hung out in Madison.
Yeah, and had delightful Nepalese food.
Yes, with our friend Anne.
Yep, and that was the day I met you. And Anne introduced you as the founder of I Need Diverse Games. And I believe the first thing I said was, "That's awesome. I need diverse games too." Which, in hindsight, feels a little kind of dumb as a first response. But at the same time, I 100% stand behind it. Because diverse games are excellent.
Yeah.
So, and, oh, Andrew, hi. Sorry. People showed up in show.
Hello, people.
Hello, people. Welcome to show I make for you, people.
Oh,
This is guest, also here for people. But, yeah, so you've been real busy the last few months.
Yeah, very, the phrase booked and busy?
Yeah.
It's been a lot. I've been overbooked and busy, as the saying goes.
I can understand that to an extent, for sure. Yeah. But I've launched my plucky internet show, and you have done some pardon my French, but some cool shit.
I see people are distracted by the chair.
Which chair?
The chair that I'm in.
You were one of those jerks that has a Cyberpunk 2077 chair, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a big jerk. Sorry. Blame CDPR, PR, who sent me the chair.
I mean, I am literally a cyberpunk.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I also didn't know I wasn't getting a chair until I got the email of, hey, that package we're sending you is a chair, and here are the embargo dates. I was like, an embargo? A chair? What? Because I've been under embargoes and NDAs, but I was like, an embargo for a chair? And then when I finished reading the email, I realized, oh, it's a collaboration. It's not announced yet, etc.
That's DX Racer, right?
No, this is Secret Lab, actually.
Oh.
So if I lean over, you can probably see it better.
Well, hold on a sec. Let's give the audience a better look there. slightly better look. Yeah, that's a great chair.
I love the chair. It is very comfortable to the point where I have fallen asleep in this chair several nights in a row, and then realized I was kind of sleepy. I
That's
was like,
high
oh,
praise for a chair, especially
yeah.
for me, because I have a hard time falling asleep sitting up.
Apparently, I don't if I'm tired enough.
Well, and if you put the right cat on my lap, then there's no problem whichever position I'm in. But
Yeah.
cats,
Yep.
they're,
Cats.
they're like walking Ambien.
They are. They
That's
are.
the downside to those quality gaming chairs. Sometimes too comfy.
Very.
Brian, if I ever need advertising copy written for this show, coming to you, buddy. If you ever want to be annoyed by a robot, go no further than my friend Tom's show.
Wow.
I know, right? Well, I own it. I'm a robot. Sometimes my jokes hit, sometimes they miss. And man, when they miss, it's epically bad. But thankfully, I understand that jokes are supposed to be funny and not dickish. But so before we start getting into like everything else about the interview and the stuff I have planned, I actually worked in a really solid question. And Pleasantly Twisted, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today. But what games are you playing right now?
Right now it's kind of a weird mix-up of I'm doing Animal Crossing, but really just for the Dungeons and Dragons in Animal Crossing that I'm doing with Gary Whitta and some friends.
Wait,
You didn't know about that?
I think I saw something along those lines. Like, I have some cool friends. But like I always feel a little crazier when I have friends who are also cool, who then have like an entire layer of cooler friends on top of that. I think that like if I was playing D&D with Gary Wood, I'd lose my mind, because I'd be like, you remember that one scene in Rogue One when K2 did the thing and it was great and I loved it and thank you. Like that's how it would boil down, except that I would be just naturally failing my charisma rolls.
No, because, well, two things. One, Gary is new to D&D. The whole conceit of it is, very quickly, Dungeon Crossing came about because I got to guest on Animal Talking, thanks to a friend and someone who's on Rob's Waterdeep with me, Brandon Stennis. And we were talking about nerdy stuff we like, and Gary's like, I've never learned to play D&D. And I was like, I could teach you. And then we're like, we could do that in Animal Crossing. And so it became a thing. We've only done 2 sessions, and I adore Gary, but he is like a 14-year-old that's just learning how to social when it comes to the table, because he was a murder hobo. He was grade A murder hobo, to the point where we were like, Gary, please. Like, like how when writers, and writers just like, writer brain doesn't turn off.
I might know a thing or two about writers.
A little.
A teeny bit.
Just a little. But
Just
Gary
enough to write a book. But.
just enough. But Gary gave us his terrible, dark backstory. And the emote that comes up when you do like a capital D and semicolon in chat?
Yeah.
That was all of our faces. We couldn't see each other that first session. But it was just like, oh my God, what? Oh, jeez. Oh, can I swear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We were like, what the fuck, Gary? Like, he was like, his family was murdered and he's on revenge and he's a fallen paladin. And we're just sitting there going, sir, like, how do we go from y'all are some level 1 adventurers to I'm the most misanthrope to ever misanthrope?
Dude, he's the guy that the Punisher tells to calm down.
But it was just like, so we had to have kind of a debrief. And, and you should do that anyway as a D&D group. And this is kind of getting sidetracked. But we've had 2 sessions. After the first session, I like to send very detailed emails, especially because it was our first session, except for our friend Brian, first time playing D&D ever. Because it's Gary Whitta, Shannon Woodward, Brian Gray, and Adam Nickerson. And, Brian had played before, but he was coming back to it. And so I sent a feedback email, and I was like, Gary, we're gonna have to work on you. To Gary's credit, he took it in stride. He actually called me up the next day, and we had a very long talk about it, and kind of how to work through this and everything else. And we took this week off that just passed because of Gen Con, because I had some prior commitments, and we'll be back this Saturday. And so we're working through like, okay, you're we adventurers, but also just learning how to share at the table, learning how to play well with others, and figure out what you can and can't do,
Yeah.
Wow. So it'll be interesting.
Sorry, I'm just also still thrown off that you just had a phone call with Gary Whitta, just casually. Yeah, I just called Gary. We were just talking about. Yeah.
well, he Twitter DM'd me. He's like, and he did the. Do you have time to talk? Which always freaks me out. I don't know about you, but it's
yeah, no, that's like the worst thing to ever hear, especially just in text.
Right, and I was just like, why? And then we talked about it because whenever I hear, do you have time to talk or can I talk to you for a minute? My brain just goes back to every terrible interaction I've ever had in my life. So we talked about, we had a really long call. We talked about better ways to play together. And he turned it around for a second episode. Still working on the sharing with others, but again, only second time playing D&D. And to be fair, most people don't learn to play D&D in front of hundreds of people across two channels, with also a DM who's frustrated because audio issues. So, no, I literally had to get up and walk away and like go cry in the bathroom because my audio issues were so bad because we co-stream my channel and his channel. Well, I mean, we can get into that later, but people.
Well, no, I just mean that just sucks.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, hey, if that's your reaction, like, hey, that's your reaction, like, you do you. It's just like, that just sucks.
Well, it was just frustration because, and I'm sure because you stream and anyone else in the chat who streams, when you have a tech issue and people are constantly either trying to help when you didn't ask for help or saying what they would do, and it's like, but you're not here, this isn't your stream, and you're just frustrating me, or people come in and go, is the audio weird for you? It's weird for me. And they just keep going on. And it got to the point, at least on my stream, where my mods put an emote only chat because people wouldn't shut up. They wouldn't give me, and it was like I was trying everything I knew of, and I just got super frustrated. And we came up with it was a janky solution, but we're like, just listen to Gary's stream, but watch this one if you want to. And it screwed up the numbers, but it was like Gary's audio was fine. And literally we were using the same microphone. But he has a Go XLR, I think. But literally, we're using the same mic, and it didn't work out for me. So I've actually gone back to my old microphone.
Yeah, I've never had any technical problems whatsoever with this channel. Not a single one.
You better knock on some wood.
I'm also being sarcastic as fuck.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you were here for one of the first episodes when I used to just like bang the microphone all the time.
Oh yeah, because you gesture and it's like, and it's weird because you're a robot, so we don't see it, but you know that kind of, you're gesturing. Oh, there goes the mic. Oops.
Yeah. So the way I used to do it is I have an AT2020 USB. mic, and I've had that mic for years. I absolutely adore it. But unfortunately, when you're in virtual reality, you kind of can't see the world around you for obvious reasons. You're wearing an opaque box on your face. And so I had to put a little space for game is top notch. Thank you. So I had to put a little like block, for lack of a better word, right here in the game to indicate where the microphone was in real space. But after that, because I was still having a few issues, because I'm a fairly animated person, and then when I have to be even more animated, I really can't have a limitation. So I switched to the inbuilt microphone on the headset, which strangely enough is not horrible, which I'm really pleased with. And Pleasantly Twisted, sorry I missed this a minute ago, but thank you for that follow. That's awesome. Hope you enjoyed the show. Do it like 4 to 5 times a week, except for next week when I'm doing it 6 times, because I don't know. But it's I fully understand the tech issues. Like the crazy thing is there were 2 episodes that I will reference, but I have scrubbed all reference of them from the internet.
Wow.
Where I didn't broadcast video at all. So nobody in chat said anything. So
no.
I have a virtual monitor here so I can monitor chat. And so I'm like, I know that something, I know there are people there and all this. And I'm just like, why isn't anybody talking? And then I watched the my local recording back later, and I was like, oh my God, why didn't anybody say anything?
Because people do that. I have asked for, how do I sound? Is audio okay? Because if a game's loud, and the mic is close enough, I could do probably vulgar things with it if I leaned over. And still people are like, well, you sound too low. And I'm like, I asked this a half hour ago. You all were just sitting here not saying anything.
Oh man, I've gotten now. I'm not going to say that I have worked out anywhere even close to a plurality of my problems with the show, but I have worked out I've just built a habit of checking all the things I need to check over the last few weeks. And so it's like, I know I'm broadcasting video. I know audio levels are generally good, with the exception of the episode that I had VR Rosie on a couple weeks ago where I didn't check the audio levels in the video that she sent me that I put up, and it was blowing people's ears out. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I fixed it for the YouTube edit. I basically just cut the sound out of it and sped it up and put a message on of, I'm an idiot.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's just but streaming's crazy. It's a wonderful not science that we're all learning together.
Yeah, and actually that's kind of a good segue, because Pleasantly Twist is in the chat. We're actually doing a panel about that next Saturday at Virtual FlameCon.
Dude, there are so many virtual cons right now. This is this is just the weirdest year.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I'd rather not get on a plane and die. So.
Oh, I'm right there with you, because I also like being alive. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's where all my stuff is. Because I'm pretty positive I can't take it with me, and I'm also not entirely sure there's anything afterwards. So I'm just kind of banking on this one being halfway decent. So yeah. But virtual cons. Sorry, that took a really dark turn. I'm sorry, audience and guest. But
it's okay. Well, it's funny. Both Brian and I don't have our whispers on for strangers, so I can't actually send them a link. So that's kind of hilarious.
I wish there was a way that I could help pass messages along that didn't tank my frame rate.
No worries. If someone could just give me a permit to post a link, I can post it.
We were
going to talk about stuff.
Yeah, we do have things to talk about. We just got sidetracked by everything. But that's part of the show, is the getting sidetracked part. Because that's what happened. I don't dude, Brian, whatever, I got nothing. That one's actually my fault. I am still learning so much of all of this. Amateur hour, whatever, Brian. I'd love to see you come up with this show.
Wow.
No.
Seeing real-time disintegration of that Tom Clancy show.
Yeah, right? No, wow. I do this with Brian every day. He's dude, Brian, how long have we been friends? Since pre-Assassin's Creed 3 for sure. Yeah, we've been friends for a while, so it's just kind of our dynamic.
I feel that.
And the last time I was in Toronto, he treated me to a lovely lunch. So that was nice too. Yeah, way too long. I regret it. No more than me, buddy.
Wow.
No more than me. But so you had mentioned so last week was Gen Con, I guess.
Yes.
I missed like all of it because stuff was happening at my house, and then it was also pitcher game last week too. So it's like Wednesday for me was reaching out to like 30, 40 teams to be like, be on my show next month.
Oh no.
So how was virtual Gen Con?
It was a little weird because I've been going to Gen Con the last few years in person, but on the other side, like it was weird not to be like in the giant convention center and the hotels and all that stuff and seeing people, which at this point I feel like I'm never going to see another human being again, except when I brave the outside. It was weird, but it was also great to be able to basically sit in a chair, not have to like rush from whatever hotel I'm at, and be there early and deal with the things that come with doing panels and live shows. I don't know who in the chat or if you've done like panels, and there's always that one person that tries to have a comment and not a question, or they get up or they want to argue with you during the Q&A, which I hate doing. That's the only part of panels I hate. On the other side of it is not missing the wall of funk at Gen Con.
Oh,
Because going through the convention center, even on day one, where you think it's literally the first day, games haven't even started, and there's already a wall of funk that I have to pass through at some point. But I think it was good because it shows that it can be accessible.
Yeah.
From everything I saw, the panels went off without a hitch. There seemed to be some weird overlap of scheduling because some people popped into the Rivals live show expecting the cosplay contest or something. And I don't know which Gen Con channel they thought it was going to be on. But overall it was good. Our panel went well. Our stream went well. And actually, Pleasant Twisted was on that panel with me about charity streaming using RPGs. And it went well. We didn't have a lot of weirdos. We didn't have a lot of strangeness. And some people streamed on their own channel and Gen Con hosted. But for the Rival show, we did it directly on Gen Con TV.
That's
so
pretty dope.
It was good. Yes, I'm hoping that they, going forward, they realize that a lot of people would love a virtual version because not everybody can travel. Not everybody can spend 4 days in downtown Indianapolis, especially when they jack up all the prices for Gen Con. Like the Westin I stayed in a couple years in a row. It's already kind of expensive because the Westin.
Yeah.
But when I saw the Gen Con pricing, I was like, this is almost my rent for 5 nights in a hotel. When I like, if it was feasible to drive every day, I'd just do it.
Yeah, but it's about, because that's what, about a 5-hour drive from Chicago, if memory serves?
Yeah, 4-hour drive. So it's not feasible. Like for you, it may be more feasible. I'm not sure. Or if you're further away.
Oh, I'm further away. Like, because for you to get to Madison, you have to like kind of bootleg around Milwaukee.
So, see, I've never gone to Indianapolis through Wisconsin. I've never.
Well, I mean, why would you?
Yeah, I know we passed
It
through.
would be like going to Canada to visit Mexico.
Yeah, but I know I've passed through Indiana on the way home from WisCon. But the TLDR is I hope that they create like a virtual version or realize that streaming is good. I know some of the games have been streamed, some of the panels have been recorded, but the whole thing has not been streamed. And it's like you have three channels. Because like I gave the Insights talk the year before with Steve Kenson, I know that was streamed. So there's all these ways in which you're already kind of there. Just keep going. Just get a little further. But also just from an accessibility standpoint, again, not everybody can afford to go to Indy for 4, 5, 6 days. And it's just like, or maybe I just want to be in the comfort of my own home and not go to a convention center packed to the brim for a week with nerds, some of which who like will eschew a hotel room in order to afford Gen Con.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, the wall of funk is definitely something that is well worth avoiding. Because I haven't been to Gen Con before, unfortunately. I'd love to go someday. But like as a teenager, I went to Origins out in Columbus, Ohio. I've been to PAX East a couple of times, and then like like 5-ish E3s or so, and just like, yeah, man, it gets kind of bad, and it gets bad quick.
Yeah, and it's August in the city, and it's hot.
You're just not making it any better. But
no, it's not. Well, and the bad thing is that it costs so much to go that people. I mean, as much as I like conventions, if I got to a point where I couldn't afford it, I just wouldn't go. But that's me. But some people, for whatever reason, they will go, and I've seen people sleeping in the convention center because it's open 24/7 from the minute badge pickup opens.
Yeah.
And I'm just like do something, make hotels affordable, and I can understand not wanting to share a room with people, but there has to be a better option than borrowing a friend's room to shower if you do that.
Yeah.
And what do you do with all your stuff for 5 days?
Well, it's like one of the weird things for me on it with like the idea of a just basic economics education is that in a situation like that, as a business owner, the people who run the hotels and whatnot, that you are practically guaranteed to be booked solid. Like they're obviously going the price gouging route to get even more money, but they could get a lot of money by making things more affordable and thus making it easier to just sell out the whole hotel.
Yeah.
But why make good money when you can make, to quote Jim Sterling, all the money?
Yeah. And, I know it. I mean, I go to conventions and conferences enough to know. I mean, even when I had a day job and would go to conventions and conferences, people would try to like skirt around it and book early, but the hotels know the dates in advance, and you'll see it's just expensive, or you can't get a room then. And, I shouldn't have to do all this extra gymnastic bullshit to get an affordable room, even if my company's paying for it.
Yeah.
When I had a day job, and now that, this is coming out of a nonprofit's pocket, and I'm very, I hate lucky when it comes to talking about what I do, because that implies that there was no work involved. But I'm fortunate in that a lot of times, whenever we do get to travel again, a lot of people will pay for my travel, they'll pay for my accommodation and flight. But I still look at that and go, you paid how much? Like, that was a 3-hour flight. Why did you pay that much money?
Yeah. No, and it's that's something that I've had a fair amount of conversation with people about, is this idea of air quotes luck. And to be fair, luck to an extent is involved, but work trumps luck every time.
Yep.
There are instances where things beyond anyone's control do happen that work out beneficially for people. But if the work wasn't put in, the possibility of those situations would never happen.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, it's not like I would not, it's not like I don't want to acknowledge any luck that went into anything, but it's also, it's one of those things where you just go, okay, there's a percentage of luck involved, but a lot of people also, they can get handed every opportunity and still fuck it up.
I mean, look at me. No.
Tom, oh my God. Am I going to have to fuss at you? Do you want me to fuss at you live?
No. I just like doing self-deprecating humor. I spent way too much time with English people as a kid.
Do I have to text Anne and be like, Anne, come get him?
If you do, could you tell her to start opening my Pokemon Go gifts again?
Okay. No. I'll send her a message on Facebook. Hey, Anne.
No, I could do that myself, but I've just, I'm trying to help everybody get to level 40 and get best friend status and stuff like that. Because I still love me some Pokemon Go, and real hard. Love that game. It's worked its way into my show when I'm with people from different continents going hey, do you play Pokemon Go? Can you hook me up with any of them region specifics? And so far,
nice.
Everyone has said no.
Wow.
Everyone. And I'm just like, and I just caught a shiny Rayquaza the other day. So, like, I'm super happy.
Yeah. Although speaking of luck, that's kind of a good segue into talking about the charity stream that I did.
Yeah. So for anybody who isn't 100% caught up on all this, you did a charity stream playing Animal Crossing, which good on you for playing 10 hours of Animal Crossing in a row. I have no idea how anybody can do that. And you raised over $150,000 for the Bail Project.
Yes. And the team total, oh God, I should have looked that up first. I think the team total, I don't know if we made our $350,000 goal. Let me see.
That was that's a super lofty goal. And the fact that seemed like a reasonable goal for you all to go for, like, that's pretty great.
You know what's funny? We're so close. I almost just want to drop in the rest of the money because it's because it's at $349,283.18. That's gonna bother me because it's such an uneven number.
Hey, if you want to drop a tweet real quick on that, and then Brian, Fictional Cat, my two mods, if you want to, like, drop those in chat from her Twitter feed. And if anybody out there is feeling particularly generous, and look, I'm not asking you to donate because I fully understand that not everybody's in a situation where that makes a lot of sense. But if you can, and we can help put her over, like, yo, I'm so down for that.
And I'm like ready to just throw the rest of the money in there.
Well, let's see, but yeah, no, I mean, dude, that's awesome. I mean, because, the country's clearly a dumpster fire right now. But, like, the Bail Project is one of those things that gives me some modest amount of just hope.
Yeah.
And, I may have donated what I was able to donate to them because, like, yeah, it's the right thing to do if you're able.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. There was someone who felt a certain way about raising money for the Bail Project. And tweet is up if you would like to share it. It should be my most current tweet because we're here. There was someone who, like, a week after the fact, it wasn't like while we were fundraising, it was after everything kind of like sort of settled down, but teams were still fundraising. They were like, how dare you raise money for the Bail Project? They got all this seed money, and it was also, founded by a bunch of rich white people. And I want to go, how do you think most charities start? Like, because most of the brown and black people don't have that kind of money to start charities and foundations. And, the reason I Need to Verse Games exists is work, lightning in a bottle, and a dash of luck. So they just felt a way about, supporting the Bail Project. And the thing is, it's a week later. We can't give them, like, what do you want people to do at that point? And I don't know,
we have to return all these donations because this was founded by a white person.
And it was just, like, so weird. It was like, also, literally, it was a week later, and they kept quote tweeting me. And it's like, you follow me. You could have just replied, because I, like, shared out a thing we were doing on someone else's channel, and they were part of the team to raise money. And they kept quote tweeting that, and it's like, we're not going to stop raising money because you don't like the fact that this charity has all this seed money. But what people don't seem to realize, and this would actually be good if Pleasant Twisted ever has time, because she does this for a living now, and she also raised a lot of money for Bail Project and St. Jude and other groups. It's not like we can just spend the money on whatever we want. When they get that money, they have to use it for what their charter requires.
Yeah.
So if they're going to go, if their charter is to make, like, more centers and help people pay bail and everything else, that's what they have to do with the money. And they did say, like, hey, slow down, because it's not like, oh, we've got all this money, we're just rich. you got to spend the money by the end of the year. And with COVID and everything else, like, you know, and this isn't a brag, but right now we probably are in the best financial position we've ever been in, but only because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Most of our money goes to all these conventions people want me to go to that they don't pay for me to go to. So there is not like this just free pool of money that we can just hang on to forever. And depending on your charity, depending on your classification, not everybody can redistribute those funds. People are like, oh, just give it to other charities. It doesn't work that way for everyone. Like, we've been lucky in that we've been able to like distribute money to people who need it or give grants or do something and support other people, but they also have to be people doing the same work. We can't just go, here's a couple grand, go have a good time. So, and just that weird not understanding how charity works, how these things work, because I think Minnesota Bail Project did the same thing of, okay, we're good. Please go help other charities. And that wasn't a brag, it was a, we need to do something with all this money, and we can't do it in the time allotted probably. So they've got to either show where they're going to spend that money, put it away, do something. We can't just hoard the money and be like, well, we're good, and never raise money again either.
You're saying that you can't commission a great portrait of yourself to put up in a building that nobody will ever be able to see.
Correct.
Huh. Did
Yeah.
nobody tell dear leader that he couldn't do that with charity money?
I mean, there's a lot people haven't told him. Because he clearly thinks he's a dictator, not the president.
I mean,
And yeah, I mean, we can get political because the fact that he thinks he can buy TikTok because there were people mean to him on TikTok and get rid of it.
God, that's hilarious. Like, there's so much about this that if somebody, 40 years ago wrote like a dystopian novel about this situation, everybody would go, and they wouldn't care about the technology being weird or like computers in your pockets and stuff like that. They just go like, there is no way the American people would elect such a person.
But here we are.
But then we did.
4 years later. 4 years later. And, and just the things where, I was talking about it the other day because dear friend B. Dave Walters and Christina Ariel, I almost said the wrong name, Alicia Marie and Critical Bard, and Ife not Adue, we were all having conversations with Black creators in this space. And we were just talking about the ways in which people just literally don't think. There are so many people said, oh, I voted for Trump as a joke. And it's like, well, the joke's on you. Look at where we are now. And, I figured it'd be bad with him in the seat. I didn't, like, when we saw those pandemic movies, when I played The Division and The Division 2, I never thought we were on the path to this in real life. And the fact that he is taking cues from dictators and styles himself one and wants to delay the election, is mad about mail-in ballots, and the reason he's mad about mail-in ballots, you can't defraud that.
No, he's just...
You can't... Yeah.
He's mad because the whole Republican thing of if more people vote, we can't win. Like, dude, fairness isn't having the same amount of people in from each party in government. Fairness is everybody gets a chance to make their voice heard. And if you can't win, if you can't defraud people's vote or take away people's right to vote, then maybe you need to rethink your platform, bro.
Well, he just needs to not be president. And however you want to veer this, I've always felt he never wanted the job. He never expected to win. And then once he won, it was like, oh shit, I'm in charge. And of course, because he can't be a loser, instead of doing the sensible thing, going, I'm not qualified, because he was never qualified. Like, if you'd watched any of the debates, he couldn't string two words together. And I'm also struggling because the habit, and what I really want to say is incredibly wrong and ableist, and I'm trying to train myself out of that language. But watching him go against anyone else, it was just like, it's egocentric, it's narcissistic, it's all about him being a winner, and it's like, you're supposed to be the Democrat leading the democracy in the country of the U.S. It's not about you winning. That is dictator think.
No, it's
You're
about
supposed to
all of
yeah.
us winning.
Right, but it's like, if you're not a rich white dude that puts money in his pockets, he literally doesn't care if you live or die. For him, these losses are acceptable. Person he put in charge of education. Oh, 1,400 kids or 140 kids a day will die? Oh, well. And it's like, you all literally don't give a fuck about anyone but you.
Yeah.
So,
God.
I don't know.
Dude,
And
it's like watching a train wreck that you can't look away from inside the train that's wrecking.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You can't do a whole lot, and it's like a friend and I were talking, and we were debating on like we thought he wouldn't win in 2016, but then I woke up to that result. If the unthinkable happens in November, I may just renew my passport or try to go work in Canada because I work remotely. As long as I have good internet, I can go anywhere, and I don't trust being here anymore because I'm a black chick in Chicago. No, thank you.
That's fair. Yeah. Brian says that you're more than welcome. He'd love to have you. He lives in the greater Toronto area. He's a lovely guy, and he knows where the good Tim Hortons is.
Nice.
Dude, I like Toronto. Toronto's dope. And Mojo brings up a good point. Remember, the unethical collection of the people's data is only cool when it's an American company that does it. And you're so right, Mojo. You're just so right. But another big thing in the news, to drastically change the topic, was the Diana Jones Award was awarded last week to Black Excellence in Gaming, and you were listed among a very excellent group of honorees.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so, oh good, I still have actually I just tweeted it from Rivals of Waterdeep earlier. Dicebreaker covered it, Polygon covered it, and there were 22 people, I believe, or if not more. Some people declined being listed, but they were still an honoree. But, people that I adore and work with and know, and it's not any different than the year that Actual Play won. And people were still mad about that. I am pleasantly surprised, knock on all the wood, that we haven't got the usual wailing and gnashing of teeth by the races, because I fully expected that. The minute that the notice went out, because they did the same time the real award show normally happens.
Give them a week. That seems to be about the time it takes people to get mad.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I'm like, let's see where this is going. Let's see where it's going. And, so many people that I know are on this list or that I've met. And it's so interesting because there's a lot of people who they want to act like if we acknowledge diversity, then we're getting rid of quality. Anyone on this list is amazing. A lot of award winners. I mean, Cody and Mike Pondsmith, who made Cyberpunk and The Witcher RPGs. Like, are you really going to deny that Mike Pondsmith should not be awarded something like this? Really?
Well, if you're giving special attention to some people, you're taking it away from all of those hard-working white people. No, man. Like, I hate when people think this idea that diversity is bad, because for one, it's not. It is statistically proven to not be bad. But it's just, diversity is justice, because there are so many people, so many talented people who have been overlooked either through ignorance or through just direct spite and racism that deserve this acknowledgement, that should have been getting this acknowledgement for years, decades even. And bringing those creators to the forefront that's amazing. Dude, how many heroes how much larger is the list of potential heroes for people now that people's work is being adequately recognized.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, at least for me and for a lot of people on that list, we didn't get to see ourselves in the things that we enjoy. We still don't. I can't easily go by a game that has anyone who looks like me as the protagonist, or even as a character that gets to survive the whole game. Tabletop's a little different because you are making the story up as you go along.
Yeah.
But there'll still be people who will go, but impossible. There can't be like black elves that are not drow, or what do you mean your character's not like poor and illiterate and we can't, what do you mean they weren't a slave? Because that's all they know about blackness. And it's like, black people have existed before slavery. We weren't just, manufactured in slave times. And, the idea that in a game where you are having fantasy and orcs and elves and dragons and creatures that talk and were creatures, that somehow a brown-skinned character is just a bridge too far.
Well,
and I'm sitting here,
yeah. What? I'm sorry, that's just like weaponized ignorance.
It is, but even now, I think, I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember, because it came up on Twitter, somebody wanted to make a slaver class for one of the Paizo games. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Pathfinder. They wanted to create a slaver class for Pathfinder. And the fact that they thought, A, it was okay to do to begin with, that they would go to the official company boards and request it, and 3, that anybody would want to play that. And I'm just like, the fuck is wrong with you people?
I mean, I don't advocate violence, but sounds like that dude needs to be slapped.
Oh, I was going for way more than a slap.
I'm going like the air quotes polite routes. But yeah, Mojo puts in chat, we are playing a game of make-believe with dragons and magic who can let people of color exist in settings like this. Oh, absolutely. Like, dude, like, I mean, like, leaving aside all of the logical arguments for why this person's an idiot, who fucking cares? It's a goddamn fantasy game. But then again, I imagine that they're also one of the people that was upset that there were people of color in the Witcher series on Netflix, because very clearly only white people live in fictional Poland.
Look, the arguments I've had online, a good friend and great writer, Turek Musa, actually left Twitter for a while because he got harassed so bad after he wrote a piece about The Witcher, and he loves The Witcher. He put in like 200 hours before writing that piece, and all people could focus on was like, but historical accuracy in a game, again, where we have griffins, your main protagonist is a mutant with cat eyes. How is this an argument you're trying to have with me? I don't know if you've ever gone to GDC, but
no, unfortunately I haven't.
But there's there's writers symposiums, meetups, like every day, like there'll be a 101 through 401. Like there's just once a day, it's like an hour, and writers will come in. And so I went into one of them, and oh God, I'm blanking on his name, but Rich.
Dansky?
Dansky was running it.
Love that
and guy. I love Rich. I sadly have not got to see him in far too long either.
Same here.
And we talked, the prompt was tropes we're sick of seeing, and I brought up, the historical accuracy argument with The Witcher. Some dude on literally the other side of the room, I couldn't even see him because he was like in such a far corner, starts going on about Poland and the mythology, and I'm just looking at him like, griffins, Scottish dwarves, dragons. You're arguing with me that people of color cannot exist in a fantasy setting because of Polish mythology. Okay. Like, Rich was great, he shut it down, but I just sat there like, I'm at a professional conference with someone who wants to write games, so they're going to carry this into their writing. And the fact that people are so okay with this, that they will throw out historical accuracy, it's a fantasy game. Someone or a team of people sat down and made up this whole world and this mythology and everything else. And it could be based off Polish mythology, but you know what you have as a writer? Agency. You have the ability to change all of this. You do not have to take it as a stone tablet up to the mountain. And you know what? If fans don't like the fact that there's brown people in your Polish mythology, they can fuck off.
Yeah, because there's going to be a significantly larger number of them who are going to be like, hey, there's somebody there that looks like me. Or somebody who's going to go like, hey, they managed to take something that was just going to be boring old white people and make it actually cool.
Yep.
Because, like, yeah, I mean, like, I just finished watching The Witcher a couple weeks ago, and damn, that show was good. And so much of it rests on these excellent characters. Like, dude, don't get me wrong, Henry Cavill was excellent, but just the supporting cast of everyone else in that world that helped make it just that much more full was just excellent. And I mean, like, it could have looked like Game of Thrones, but no, it didn't. I also appreciate that they didn't lean into the historical accuracy thing like Game of Thrones did, and some of their being just generous here, rampant misogyny.
Yeah. I mean, I never saw Game of Thrones because I don't have cable, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Not really, no. But the finale, which was terrible, set up a bunch of pilots for much better shows that we'll never get to see.
Yeah. But, you know, the long and the short of it is people are very comfortable in sticking with what they know or what they think they know and stereotypes and tropes because they can't get past what it is they think they know. And I don't understand what it is about seeing a black person or a queer person or a woman or someone who's all three or disabled or neurodivergent as a character in a game is just so shocking because disabled people exist and have very fulfilling lives and are not just sitting at home being sad that they're disabled. Because someone shared on Facebook a comic of, I forget, I don't remember it. I don't know if I shared it. I need to go back and look. But it was like days of the week, and this person, like they were missing their arms from the elbow down, and there was people coming up to them going, I'd kill myself if I was you. I don't know how you live. And it goes on and on every day of the week until Sunday they finally flip out on someone. Then it's like, why do they have to be so rude? I was just giving them my opinion that no one asked for.
Yeah, nobody fucking cares about your bullshit ass opinion where you, without explicitly saying it, imply that you don't think another person's life has value.
Yeah.
You know?
And
like, I mean, you may as well, like, there is a level of air quotes respect I would have for a person if they just were flat out honest with it, as opposed to being passive aggressive about it. Like if they just walked up to someone and said, you know what, I don't like disabled people. Like I'd be like, I appreciate that you had the honesty to say it, but you're a dick.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also the fact that a lot of people just like, because of the movies and everything else, and because we don't see disabled people as whole people. Especially if someone's in a mobility device, if they're in a wheelchair, if they're blind and need a cane. So many people don't see disabled people as being able to live by themselves. And a friend of mine who's in a wheelchair, when she's out and about, and she's fine, she doesn't need help with things, unless like the power goes out on her chair or something. But for the most part, she'll get people who do the, I'm gonna help you, and try to like push her wheelchair across the street when she didn't ask for help. Or they talk to her like, in addition to being in a wheelchair, she must not be able to communicate well. And she's like, I have 2 master's degrees. Because you don't know when someone became disabled.
Yeah.
People may be, you know, what if someone had an accident versus maybe they were born disabled. But either way, you don't talk to people like they're small children that got let out of the house with no one watching them.
Oh no, they just want to be treated like everyone else. You know, they come on the elevator and you're sitting there at the button, you ask them just like everybody else, hey, what floor are you going to?
Right, but you know, people do the, oh my God, I'm in the way, and let me just, and it's just like, just stop being a dick. As
somebody who's frequently in the way, though, I'm very good at getting out of it.
True, but a lot of people I see make a production out of it.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, Like, do you have enough room? And they just talk. I just seen how friends that either need mobility devices or they have a dog or they have a cane, and people just talk to them like they are 5-year-olds that somehow are out without parental supervision. And I'm just like, oh my God, would you do this to anyone else? No. Or people try to help, like a friend of mine who does a lot of advocacy, and she now has a dog. She's had people like come up and like grab her arm when she's crossing the streets.
Joe,
And it's like,
that's a dog's job for one.
well, also, you don't know what trauma someone has. What if she turned around and beamed you across the head with her cane?
Yeah, well, I mean, also too, it's like that's not something you would do to just a non-disabled person walking down the street, unless you're a complete douche. And I've had people who've literally grabbed me by the arm at the airport and stopped me to look at my tattoos, which is never cool.
But not the same thing.
No, not the same thing, but never cool. Like, but yeah, there's so many words I want to say, but I can't move my mouth fast enough for them all to come out.
Yeah, I mean, and we both could, I'm sure we could both talk about this forever, but there's stuff we didn't get to yet, and I want to talk about them.
Like, yeah, there's so much. I know what I'm doing when we meet. Oh God, fictional cat, I swear. Like, if you want to see my tattoos, just ask. I will happily show them all off. Like, dude, I mean, you've seen my tattoos. I love my tattoos. I'll show those things off to the end of time. But
yeah, don't touch people when you meet them, because I'm going to tell you all right now, if you ever meet me, especially because I've got this giant tattoo on my arm, if you grab me to touch it, I will punch you.
Oh yeah, how'd the healing process on that go? Because that's
it's
new.
Fine. Yeah, that's the last one I got in the end times. I don't know if you can actually see it, but
yeah,
but it's on Instagram.
Nice. Dude, I need to get a tattoo artist on this show at some point. Yeah. There's one I found down in Miami who does, for lack of a better word, X-ray tattoos. So like he uses a combination of black ink, blue and red ink. I'll link you the video I saw on YouTube about it. And it's like those old like cards that we like, the 3D like trading cards that would come in like Transformers packs and stuff like that. And if you put on like red glasses, you see one image, and if you put on blue glasses, you see a different image. And it is fucking cool. And I want one so bad. And Pleasantly Twisted, enjoy your tattoo. Feel free to tag me on Twitter when you have it done, because I love looking at tattoos. But yeah, so Rivals of Waterdeep, please tell me more.
So the show started in June 2018. Well, we had our first episode. Greg Tito over Wizards. We've been friends for a while, kind of like how you and I met. Like, he followed I Need Diverse Games, whatever. And like, he reached out to me a while back and was like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And smart person that I am, I didn't realize he meant the official D&D podcast. So like, I really didn't realize it until like maybe a couple hours before we were going to record. And it's like, oh, you meant the D&D podcast. Because we're both like Dragon Age nerds and everything else. So I thought we were just going to like talk some shit. And he's like, oh, we're for real D&D podcast. Okay then.
Dude, I love when derping into cool stuff happens.
Yeah.
Because that's just the best.
And so like we kept in touch, like we're friends. Like I've met his family and they're all lovely. And then a couple years later, he was like, hey, I'm putting together a D&D show, and the conceit of it is everyone can learn to play D&D. And it wasn't about the diversity of the cast. That was just a happy byproduct. So we got the cast together. It was, I brought in some friends. Greg had already recruited a couple people. And so we met up, we made characters, and then at Stream of Many Eyes, the D&D event in 2018, we had our first episode in LA. And so for some of us, the first time we're playing D&D is in front of this crowd and on Twitch front page ever.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, but it was kind of terrifying. I'm glad I didn't know we were front page till after we were done. Like some of us, like Brandon and I are both partnered Twitch streamers, and the other guys, I'm not dabbing. Don't ask. It's not gonna happen.
All right, fictional cat. I'll get you a double dab since you dropped the points.
Yeah, that's not happening. I don't dab. And so we had our first episode, and it was weird because in the chronology of our show, it actually was number 4. So people coming in expecting us to literally follow up after Stream Many Eyes were like, but wait, you're just meeting. What's happening? And then that episode is number 4. And yeah, we've been very lucky in that, for the most part, we've all gotten along, and the stream is, or the I don't want to say the season because it sounds weird. We're still playing D&D. We're not, and we're playing it for ourselves. We just happen to let people watch us play.
Yeah.
But we're in our 7th season. We're negotiating future seasons. So hopefully we can make an announcement on our last episode of the season. August 23rd will be our season finale. And so we're trying to hopefully continue, and when we can say stuff, we will. But yeah, what we started doing out of necessity was swapping our DMs every session, or every season, not every session, because that would be too confusing.
What's a nice little conceit?
Yeah, so it's fun, and it gives everyone a chance to do that because 3 of the people had never played before. So they've gone from 2 of 3 have gone from never having played to being on the show, playing, and now having DM'd 1 or more seasons. So, so it's been really fun. And one thing I wish I could change though is how people talk about the show, because it always comes back to the diversity angle. Not we're a good show, not that we rotate DMs every season, not that we have a lot of talented people who do a bunch of other things. It's always the diversity angle, which is the one thing, it will annoy me to no end, because we talked about it kind of before the show went live. The whole, oh my God, I can't find brown people, I can't find black people. And whenever people talk about the show, it's always, oh, where are the diverse D&D shows? Where are the diverse RPG shows? And it's like, there's more to our show than that. There's more to us than we just all happen to be brown. A lot of us do other stuff. We do other RPG content outside of that show.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are, so this Sunday is episode 8. Because I literally lost a week somewhere. I was convinced that August 16th was our season finale, so I was missing like our 9th episode, and Sharif was just like, no, this is episode 8. And I was like, oh, okay.
I can understand that entirely. I feel like April didn't happen, but somehow May was 4 years long.
Yeah. I mean, April was a lot, March was a lot, because I mean, you know this, but my mom passed mid-March, so it just feels like everything, like in movies where there's that slow-mo, and you go, how did I get here?
Yes.
And I feel like everything since getting that call on March 17th is that slow-mo, how did I get here? How do I move forward? And some days is normal speed, some days it's like, I'm in tar, and I don't know how to function, which a lot of us are having, pandemic or not, or, not having lost a parent or something. So we have 3
that's
episodes
a shitty
left.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, you and I commiserated over this. And, but the whole, oh my God, I can't find brown people. And I'm like, we're here, we're not aliens. And Pleasant Twist and I have talked about this at length.
Well, the truth is, in that instance, it's not that they can't find them. It's that they haven't bothered to look.
I mean, there's that. For me, it's the whole, oh my God, I didn't know these people were here. And, I'm going to shout out my friend because she's amazing. Pleasantly Twisted is in the chat. And we actually had a very interesting meeting because she popped in my chat and we got to talking about partnership and the whole thing. And now she has a shiny check mark. So that shiny check mark is not very old. So I just like talking up my friends, and she's here and supporting us.
Is that like the partner check mark?
It is.
I'm working
we'll
towards
get you
that.
there. We'll get you there.
Hey, it's it'll happen when it happens.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm just going to continue doing my show, which I love doing because it means I get to talk to awesome people like you. And sometimes people pop in and watch our conversation, which we are kind enough to have in public.
Yeah. So yeah, like Rivals. Like we've done literally everything. We've gone to hell, well, the D&D version of hell. And when we ended our episode last week, we wound up in Icewind Dale, which is part of the new content that's coming in September.
Oh.
And so we're able to do a little bit, like, not, we can't spoil any content, but we are kind of creeping toward an Icewind Dale adventure.
You're getting into like old school BioWare territory right now. I dig it.
A little bit, but I mean the new content that's coming out, I think, in September, is Icewind Dale. So who knows? Instead of a fiery backdrop, we may get ice. I don't know. We had to outrun an avalanche last episode.
See,
but it's
where's the people calling for historical accuracy on running from an avalanche?
Well, they don't do that, but they do backseat us a lot in our chat. Seriously, like I do a lot of this, and I don't know if you do it when you're streaming games versus the show. You talk out loud,
Yeah.
and you don't want help. You're just reasoning out loud. And I had my character sheet up, and I'm sure if you play a tabletop game where it's like your character sheet's right in front of you, you know this, but your brain just goes, why is this difficult? Why can't I figure this thing out? And I had a moment about using Misty Step and moving because I didn't want to die from an avalanche. And this person in chat kept backseating, and it's like, no one asked you. I was literally just, A, I was asking Sharif as our DM, and B, I was just literally verbalizing my thought process out loud. And people do it all the time. So I think the worst thing, well, we've had a few incidents of racism because you can't exist on the internet and be black without racism.
That would just be too polite.
Yeah. And it wasn't even the worst one wasn't even during the show. It was when Brandon and Serena, when she was still on the show, did Dragon Talk. And there was just N-word, monkey emote, using Trihex's emotes. And it's like, why? How did we get here? And it bothered me. And then we had someone, the first episode that Cicero DM'd, we had someone in chat who literally was like, you know what the show needs to take it to the next level? Deborah Wall is DM. And it's like, so after he had literally just said, I'm nervous, this is my first time DMing, I'm DMing this show, that people are putting their trust in me, blah, blah, blah. You say in chat that we need Deborah Wall, who I've met Deborah, she's lovely, and she'd probably be appalled at someone saying this. But you're basically saying a group full of brown and black folks need a white woman to DM to take our show to the next level. Is this what you're saying?
Like from True Blood and Daredevil, Deborah Wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's about, one, fantastic actress, and I love her. But, yeah, that's pretty messed up, man.
It was, and it was like, I made a face because we were in studio and we weren't remote until COVID struck. And I just sat there and I know the face that I wanted to make. And up until recently, we all had mod swords on D&D. And so I just quietly banned them. And then after the show, I had a moment on Twitter. And I didn't tag Deborah because it's not her fault someone was an idiot.
No.
Or I shouldn't say an idiot. They were an asshole. Because again, I've met her. She was lovely. We got to chat during D&D Live the last couple years. But it's like, you're basically telling a bunch of black people they're not good enough unless a white person is leading them, is what you're saying. And we got weird comments during our D&D show during Gen Con. And we had some people who came in during our normal episode and was like, well, this is why I quit playing D&D, and no one paid them attention. It was like, you're not getting that serving of attention you want. We're not going to stop the show. We're not going to address you. So I know some streamers will stop and chew on their food, as they say, but it's not our channel. That's not what we're there for. And we're not giving you the attention you want. So if you're not going to play D&D because you see some brown faces, fuck off. We don't need you.
Sucks to be you.
Like, we're going to keep having fun and getting paid to do it. So, deuces.
Dude, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there's really nothing to say in that instance, you know? Because, like, I mean, well, there's a lot of things to say, but there's, like, it feels, at least, I don't know, any words that I have on the subject feel personally kind of useless unless I'm there in the moment to be like, yo, dude, that's not cool, you know? And, like, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where it was like, you know, and for someone who's DMing for the first time on a show with, like, you know, that's been on for a few seasons, and you've got to follow some people that are way more seasoned and experienced, that's a really shitty thing to see in the chat. So, and you know, when it happens during Dungeon Crossing, we've only had 2 episodes, but like Gary and I both have had people, oh, if you need a guest player, or some white dude, because I didn't follow him, I didn't know who he was. He was like, oh, I'd love to DM that crew, and I just replied, you mean, if you do know that I'm the DM, right? Like, I can see you. Are you literally saying that you would be a better DM than me? Like, he didn't reply, but it's like, why would you reply to someone about that? And then people kept tagging Critical Role, and I don't know if Pleasantly Twister went to get food like she said or not, but like people were tagging in like Critical Role, Ashley Johnson, Matt, and Marisha, saying, oh, Shannon on Critical Role when? And it's like, none of us are involved in Critical Role, why are you tagging them? And there were people that were just like, oh, I could be a guest, and it's like, we've had 2 episodes, 2. And we didn't even know if it was going to become a thing. We were just kind of like, let's throw this at the wall and see if it sticks. And we're going to make it a thing. And it'd be great if we could find our footing.
Yeah.
People like, if there's ever an extra chair, and it's like, you have way more comfort in asking to come do a thing than you really should. So.
Yeah. Man, like, I will make all sorts of ridiculous jokes inviting myself to things. But there's one thing you don't joke about, and that's asking to be in somebody's D&D game. Because if somebody wants you in the game, they will ask you, especially if they know you. You know, and like, yeah,
well, and it's and the hard part is, I mean, and it's a lot of his circle is going to come back and touch on the same points. It's you see a brown person, a black person doing a thing, and you figure, surely they're not qualified, surely they're not able to be in the chair, they don't deserve to be in that chair. And it's like, we're playing on my fucking island, everyone is there and trusting me to be the DM and give them their first D&D experience. You don't get to tweet at us and go, and someone asked where Jeff Kanata was, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck Jeff Kanata lives. Also, he knows how to play D&D already. Why are you asking where he is?
And also, your island has a pretty decent natural history museum with a good dinosaur collection, so very clearly, you have your shit together.
Well, but it's just like this whole, like, there were people that were like, well, where was Ashley Johnson? Where was... And I'm just sitting here like, I guess I'm just not here. And it got to the point where, like, I think, like I was very angry, and I tweeted a thread, and then later, it made people that are close to me uncomfortable. So I did delete it, but I just got so fucking angry that anytime you have any tangential, and you know, when I say this, I'm friends with Matt and Marisha. I'm getting to know other members, and I'm friends with Brian. I'm getting to know Ashley and Liam, and it's like, they are real people. They're not there just to be your fucking entertainment. And this idea that if you have any tangential brush with anyone involved with Critical Role, then you immediately go to, well, when are you going to be a guest on the show? And it's like, first and foremost, there's still a pandemic happening.
Yeah.
They do the show live. Well, not live, they're pre-recording in a socially distant and safe studio that they've set up. But even when things get back to quote-unquote normal and we don't have to distance as much, whenever that may be, they do the show live in LA. I live in Chicago. Or anyone else that you keep going, when are you going to be in Critical Role? And as someone who has run games, you can't just slot in this extra random ass character and be like, so and so just shows up. Because a lot of times as a DM, you've got plans.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's far planned out or even 1 or 2 sessions ahead, you can't just plop someone in an extra chair because so-and-so wants to be a guest, or the community thinks so-and-so should be a good guest.
You arrive at the tavern and you see someone who looks like an adventurer like you. And then somebody in the group is all like, yo, we left the last session out in the middle of the road. Like, how are we at a tavern?
Right, like, or you come across a body and the person's not dead by some reason, but it's like, okay, what do you do with this extra fucking person? Like, or do they die? Are they with you? Do you know what happened to them? Or it's like, how do you... And it's like, I just feel like people don't think about this, especially if they've never actually run a game. Not even just playing, but running a game, especially something on the scale that they do for 4 hours a week. And I'm like, I would rip my hair out if every other fucking tweet is, well, why isn't so-and-so on your show? Or I think this person would be a great guest, tee-hee. And it's like, cool. When we're not in a pandemic, and if there's a story-appropriate way, and if stars align, but you can't want every fucking celebrity you know that you think has ever touched a D20 to be on Critical Role. And also, and Matt has said this himself, and Brandon said it the other day, and Matt agreed with him, they are not the only show out there. They're not the be-all, end-all of D&D actual play shows.
No, they're like they're the big name in the field for sure. But I mean, it's just, there's all sorts of great people in that space.
Yeah, and it's like, and the thing is, Matt literally agreed with Brandon and quote tweeted him and said, yes, you're absolutely correct. And people were still like, but that just means you hate Critical Role. And we're like, but Matt agreed with him. Right here. Do we need to frame it and send it to you?
It's like nuance is no longer a thing or something.
Well, it's like it's like people just literally don't listen. And, and we can get into stand culture if we have time or if you want, but the whole idea that your whole, like, celebrity, streamer, YouTuber, author, movie star, whatever they do, can do no wrong. And you always see these people that get on Twitter, like, if someone does something wrong, or like if somebody got on Twitter right now and said, well, I don't like Tanya because blah, blah, blah. I heard her on Tom's show and she's full of shit. And someone then turn around and defend me, and this could be someone I don't know where they came from, who they are, and they're just like, no, she does blah, 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 and charity. And it's like, that's a weird stand culture of, you're defending someone who may or may not even know you exist. And we see it more with big celebrities, and, with big fandoms, and it's just like, this person doesn't know you exist. Why are you wasting this energy? And usually it's like, they don't even read whatever the issue is, or like, in cases where someone is outed as an abuser, or, something like that, where you just see people, and whatever it is, or it's like, oh my God, they're going to get canceled. Let's be real, no one gets canceled. Cancel culture does not exist. Because all these people are supposedly canceled, they're prospering more than the people that outed them. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So,
you're beginning to touch on something that we both are very kind of not involved in, but invested in, because there was the series of I'm just going to come out and say it. A mutual friend of the both of ours was accused of fucking terrible things. And, and I'm still speechless about it all, because, like, we don't want to think that a friend of ours is capable of doing such a thing. But at the same time, like, everybody who gets on the victim's case about, like, oh, they're just making it up for whatever, has never paid attention to anything that's ever happened to victims ever who've spoken out.
Yep.
And it's just like, yeah.
And that's the hard part when people think victims are doing it for clout or whatever. Most of the victims we never hear from again because their lives are fucking ruined.
Yeah.
And they've got to like lock down their socials. Sometimes people got to move. They get harassed, and it's not just mutual former friend. It's a whole problem at that same company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it's also other people in many other studios and streamers and YouTubers and all this other shit. And everybody wants to go, oh, well, you know, like, why are you waiting so long? It's like, have you not seen the stories the victims have told about when they do finally say something? If they're believed at all, they're blamed, they're told they were asking for it, or it's like, well, you did it to advance, you did it for blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, most of those people, their careers were ruined before they got started because they didn't, because if they did tell anyone, they were blacklisted, and we found out after the fact. People that don't rise in our industry, and we find out years after the fact, oh, well, I told on this person who was being outed, and now I can tell my story because enough other people have told someone may fucking believe me. You know?
It's god awful, you know, because it's like, without getting into too much detail, because it's not the kind of thing I want to talk about on the show, and not that this situation isn't something I want to talk about, but I have been a victim, and I didn't talk to people about it for years, you know, because the first people I thought I could trust to talk about it basically just laughed at me and said it wasn't, you know, that couldn't possibly happen.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, yeah, nobody wants to come out and say that they were a victim of anything, you know, and it's just, yeah.
And,
so,
you know, and it's, I mean, the long and short of it is victims are not believed because, you know, like, you're a dude, and, you know, people are like, but you're a dude, this surely couldn't happen. And if you're femme, then it's like, but then you were asking for it. Or they find every reason for it to not to be your fault and not the person who fucking assaulted you. So
yeah, exactly. Or you know, like, oh, well, they were a good person. Clearly, it only ever happened the one time, and we can forgive them for it. You know.
No, and you know, as is the case with the former friend, too many people came out for it to be a one-time thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
too many people.
There's the old adage of, you know, a first time, or somebody who's generally speaking, somebody who's a first time, you know, abuser. It's just that's the first time that they have been caught or called out on it. You know, and not to say that is the case of literally everyone, but statistically speaking, especially right now, like, it's generally just a first sign of a pattern. And if you look back on it, and it's just like, you know, and then another thing too is it's just like, you know, as the friend in this instance, it's like there's a level of guilt, you know, of like, what, you know, why couldn't I? What did I miss? You know, because looking back on it after everything happened, like, I looked back on that friendship and those interactions, and there were little red flags every, you know, once in a while, but they were just little red flags. There was no further context to see them in.
Yep.
You know, and now it's like, in hindsight, it's like, are you kidding
We're both
me?
like, oh,
I
shit.
could have done something. You know, and it sucks.
Yeah. We should probably find something better to chat about that's not so fucking depressing.
Yeah. So, normally at about this time of the show, I have a little bit that I call the 5 questions, which are 5 questions that I ask you, my guest, that really have quite literally absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far today, that are just for fun. So question number 1, what is the best D&D class?
Ooh, that's rough because I'm an old nerd about it, and even though I play paladin, I'm gonna go with rogue.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. I have never personally had fun playing rogue. I love their toolkit, but it doesn't, like, it's not the way I like to play the game. But I like playing like roguish sorcerers or bards.
Oh, so multi-classing.
Well, no, I just mean like playing like a bard, like kind of like not a bard rogue, but like a bard who is rogue-ish.
Oh, so Zev are kind of like oh god, what's his first name? Howe from Dragon Age Origins Awakenings.
Whatever.
Nathaniel Howe.
Yeah, where it's like that like kind of like stereotypical, for lack of a better word, saucy bard.
Okay, so
You know,
kind of like Dandelion in The Witcher.
yeah, like like hey, yeah, you guys are all really cool, blah, 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 blah. And then other hand, like stealing some coin, getting free drink, kind of that thing. And then with Sorcerer, it's fun too, because the one time I played Sorcerer, I just made this whole thing of like he pretended to be a noble from like a random country that he would come up with every time they arrived at a new town, and it's like, why am I not being showered with gifts?
Nice.
And to see how far that would go, and especially like when you're playing something like a bard or a sorcerer that's a charisma-based casting class, you got the charisma to pull that stuff off.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Also, I really enjoy Monk.
Ooh, yeah. Latia Jaquise is a Aarakocra monk on Rivals. That is her character, and she's a punchy burb.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, monks are great. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Keyboard and mouse or controller?
Controller, because I have repetitive stress injury, and keyboard and mouse will wreck my hands.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I have tendonitis in, I believe it's my left hand, and I discovered it's not really gone because I tried to play Final Fantasy XIV with keyboard and mouse. That was a mistake.
Oh yeah, I frequently forget that the Final Fantasy MMOs did have console releases as well.
Yeah, I mean, I need to just sit down, and a friend who's been playing much longer has offered to help me map my buttons if I want to, because it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that one.
Yeah.
Question number 3, which actually strangely enough relates to Rich Dansky here.
Okay.
Sasquatch, real or myth?
Oh god. Because I'm that person and because I do believe in the supernatural, I'm going with real.
Okay. Speaking of, you should definitely check out Max Brooks's latest book, Devolution. It is like World War Z, except replace zombies with Sasquatch.
Okay.
I read it in a day.
Oh wow.
Like I just sat down, I had to finish it. I love this book. So
Nice.
good. Also,
Okay.
I highly advocate reading on my channel. So,
I read more when I traveled because I could read on flights. In theory, I read, but I read a lot on my phone. But if I can get it on Kindle, I will look into it.
you can.
Yeah.
At least I'm 85% positive on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the local bookstore here in my neighborhood, which I used to work at, and I miss working there because that was a great job. They are doing curbside pickup, and since I want to support my local business when I can, I was just like, hey, this book is coming out. Can you please hold for me? And they were like, yeah. And bam,
Nice.
curbside pickup. Yeah. Dude, support your local bookstore if you can, or your library as well. Yeah. All right. Question number 4. What is your favorite foreign language?
Ooh. I'm going to go Japanese because I took Japanese in college and studied there for a year abroad.
Nice. I have never been to Japan.
I miss it, and whenever we can travel again, money pending and however long it takes me to get a new passport, I want to go back because Japan is one of the few places I feel tall. And I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, Japan is one of the few places.
sarcastic.
It's one of the few places I felt tall. Because I could actually touch ceilings in Japan.
Oh man, does that mean I'm gonna hit my head on everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Just flat out. You're 6 feet. You're in for a rough time.
Yo, you know what else is in Japan that I really want to go to now?
What?
Super Mario World at their Universal.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, like it's open, but clearly we can't go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, dude, what person who grew up playing Mario games doesn't want to go to the Mushroom Kingdom?
Yeah, I mean, I want to go there. I did get to the Sanrio store once when I was in Japan many years ago. Like, I'd want to go there. I know there's a Snoopy store, I believe, like a Snoopy or like all the stuff that we grew up with as kids is like still in Japan, and I'd want to just go.
Okay. I want to go to the Pokemon store because I want to get a Sandshrew plushie.
If I went to the Pokemon store, someone would have to like hold my wallet
No.
and remind me I have to fly home because I would be in trouble.
One of my favorite YouTubers, he tries to go to Japan like once a year, and he always shoots a vlog while he's there. And when he's over there, his one of his co-creators on his channel, like the two of them just go to like the Gundam store to get like the assemble models, and like his friend always brings a second suitcase to put the Gundam models in for the trip home. And
Well,
I'm just
wow, because you do usually get 2 free checked bags, right?
well, I mean, I guess it depends on what airline you're flying, but like generally, European and Asian lines do tend to treat their passengers like passengers.
There is that.
Dude, Korean Air is so good. Like they give you like a tube of hot sauce with your food, and like it's
Nice.
good food. And like I'm not talking like a small tube. I'm talking like a medium-sized toothpaste tube of hot sauce.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my international travels definitely had better food.
Brian goes, I feel like that's a very Eric's thing to do as well. That's exactly who I was referencing.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, like, dude, I would love to go to Japan just to, like, see the really, like, it's just, everywhere in the world has, like, kind of their own unique geology, for lack of a better word. And just,
Yeah.
I really love the, like, mystical look of, like, Japan, with, like, the fog-shrouded mountains and, like the super steep cliffs. It looks magical to me, and I would love to go see it.
It'd be great.
Yeah. Well, and then question number 5, and this is my favorite question on the list.
Okay.
What is your favorite restaurant in Chicago?
Oh, jeez.
I know, and this is why it's my favorite question, because like everybody who lives in Chicago for more than like a year finds like that one restaurant that they're like, this is the best, and everybody's right, which is the crazy thing.
I'm gonna go with Ethiopian Diamond because I love Ethiopian food. And if my favorite sushi restaurant in my neighborhood was still around, that would be it. But it became condos a couple years ago.
God, that's the worst. We had
Yeah.
so we lived in Lincoln Park for like 5 years, and there was this excellent little hole in the wall sushi place called Hanabi, and like the dude who ran it recognized us, his wife recognized us, and then one day we went and it was gone.
And that's the worst feeling.
And it's just like, what?
Yeah, my spot was kind of like, it was my Cheers for a while because it was down the street. Depending on how I came home from work, because it was around when I had a day job, I could call in an order, get off the bus, and then walk the rest of the way home, or be home, call in an order, and then like in 10 minutes I've got my favorite sushi. Oh, you got a follow bot. Look at that.
I know. Mods, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever we can travel again and it's safe, and you come to Chicago, I'll take you for Ethiopian food.
Hell yeah. We have a really good Ethiopian restaurant here called Ethiopian Cottage Restaurant. And
Yes.
we had like a half dozen Groupons for them. And so we know their vegetarian sampler platter like the back of our hand. But But that place is so good, and it's like it's on the same block. It's unfair. It's on the same block as well. The Vietnamese pho place is gone, unfortunately, because it was so good. But I mean, COVID, and a ridiculously good Thai place, and they're all like within 200 feet of each other. It's unfair because it's so good. And the Thai place, they did Thai ribs, man.
Interesting.
Like, it was so it was like a spicy curry barbecue sauce. It was so good.
That sounds amazing.
But Chicago-wise, personal favorite restaurant, whole city, is Hima's. It's a Indian place at Clark and Fullerton. And
I think I know that because it's by DePaul, right?
yeah. And it's so good. What's his name? The most recent General Zod, Michael Shannon, was there one day while Misty and I were having lunch there, and we're sitting there over like against the wall in like one of the little 2-person tables, and he comes in with like 2 other people, and we look over at him, and like Man of Steel had just come out, but like we still didn't fully recognize him, and we're like, who is that guy? He looks so familiar, and we're just like being very quiet and like kind of, dare I say, like Japanese about it, where we're just kind of like quietly enjoying our meal with like no conversation, and like occasionally a little glance over there, and then it like hit me, and we're listening to his whole conversation, and we learned he does not know how to pronounce Sag Paneer.
Okay.
He calls it Sag Paneer, and we're just like, General Zod doesn't know how to say Sag Paneer. But yeah, it was just kind of silly, and like we left, and he even kind of like looked at us a little bit weird, and we looked at him a little bit weird, and I just wanted to like go all, like kneel before Zod, but he didn't get to say that wonderful line. But yeah, dude, that place is so good.
I wonder if I can get delivery if I'm too far away. I have to check now because I need to eat after we're done talking.
Dude, I need to eat after we're done talking. Since we're on the topic of Chicago, I am tempted to air my grievances regarding the pizza Tom forced on me. All right, so Brian came down to visit in 20...
So let me, before you say that, Brian, I'm going to tell you right now, A, I don't care, and B, I actually like thin crust pizza. So your complaint is registered. I don't care.
And I just, people ask me what my favorite style of pizza is. I just say yes. Because... all pizza's good. Bad pizza's good. Great pizza's even better. But I took him to Giordano's because I wasn't going to take him to Gino's East. I don't like Gino's East as much as Giordano's. And he was already staying downtown, so I wasn't making him come up to me and like go to like my neighborhood place.
Okay.
So we went to Giordano's, and Giordano's is perfectly good Chicago-style pizza, which you asked for.
Lord.
Yeah, also in all of Chicago, I've only found one place that does like a legit New York style pizza. So
yeah,
but he prefers to fold, and you know what, man, that's cool. Folding pizza's great too.
Live your best foldy pizza life, Brian.
Dude, oh man, now I want to go to my foldy pizza place, which is over that way.
I mean, I'm kind of looking at not Grubhub because Grubhub screwed me over, but and Seamless is Grubhub even though I still use it, but DoorDash is stupidly expensive.
Yep.
There's no good way to consume anything under capitalism.
Isn't a foldy pizza just a calzone? No, because calzones don't have sauce. What you were referencing would be a stromboli.
And also, if we start debating the merits of certain foods, we'll never leave.
No, because,
Question for you, because I can't remember, do we do audience questions or no?
We do. We haven't, hey, audience, any questions? Usually I'm just used to them just, kind of coming up, but, we've been, very engaged in our conversation. And so I guess that does not always... build the greatest hey guys, just throw a question in here. But yeah.
I like how now that we said question, no one says anything. The chat's been going all this time, and now that we said have a question.
I think I have some crickets in my garage.
Oh no.
The funny thing
Wow.
is, I'm not actually in a garage. Brian wasn't prepared. Wow. Now who's not ready, Brian? No.
Wow.
But
Wow.
well, either way, like one, this has been an awesome show. Two,
Yes.
it is always great to talk with you. I'm sorry that Hamal Chuli was not involved in this conversation, which is the name of the excellent Nepalese place in Madison that we went to. Like, dude, I've been to Madison probably close to a dozen times. I have only not eaten there once. Every other time we've eaten there.
Yeah, whenever, again, all the caveat of when it's safe to travel again, it's on the list because WizCon was virtual. Everything's virtual this year, even PAX. PAX is online.
I mean, it's an interesting standpoint from like my perspective as like a social VR kind of early adopter. Like I have not to say like a vested interest, but I definitely am more than intrigued by what this means, like kind of moving forward, because like I would love to see like a virtual show floor, to like be able to like throw on my headset, or even like if people could roll out like an Oculus Quest app, or if somebody could build like a framework that like PAX or whoever could license and build out, like that would be so cool.
Yeah, because I think Devolver had something like that. Like BlizzCon, yes, but like the convention still happened.
Yeah.
You just had access to watch the panels before, like, you had to wait for them to go up on YouTube. You could watch them real time. So that was a virtual pass. But if more cons could do that. But I also know, like, the inside baseball is, I know how expensive it is to stream conventions.
Yeah.
A convention I was involved with that failed terribly, that should people find the folks involved, there's going to be hands thrown. It was going to be $18,000 for one panel room for 3 days. Yes, that's one room. And so what I don't realize when people always go, you could just stream it. It's like, if you want shitty webcam quality, sure, somebody could put a camera on a pedestal and stream it if they had good enough Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi good enough to stream is super expensive, in case you didn't know. So we're looking at $25,000 per room per day, or for a weekend, to stream at an actual con so people can watch it, versus we do everything on Zoom and we funnel it all through somebody's Twitch or YouTube or Facebook Live or something.
Now, the real question is, how much does it cost for a ball pit?
Probably more than anyone ever wants to pay again.
Do people still joke on that fan convention that with the ball pit, or is that like, am I aging myself here?
No, I mean, we both got the reference. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you say Firefest, it's the same thing. But yeah, but this was fun, and we should do it again. And we should, one day when I am not hip deep in freelance and stuff, we should finally get on Ghost Recon.
Boom. Also, Destiny, whenever as well.
Yes.
I since I finally have air conditioning in my office, I actually played for a decent amount of time again last night, and oh my god, I missed that game.
Yeah, I need to catch up because I'm not ready for the expansion at all.
Well, I mean, you got time. It did get pushed back as well.
Yeah, so we can talk offline because I am basically locked down for a project until next Friday, and then after that, my schedule frees up.
Well,
It's lovely to see you too, Liam. It was so good to see you. See you in chat and not just on the Twitters.
Liam's good folk.
Yes.
But yeah, and if you ever need somebody to sit in the D&D chair, find someone else. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But if you are ever starting a season of something and you're looking to fill a table, I know a certain robot who does enjoy playing the game. And if I ever decide to like actually DM again, I know a person to reach out to.